So when you're performing these exercises at home or at the crag, you will perform them cyclically. So you'll start with one exercise, do the second and third, and then start over back at the beginning, performing them for 2 to 3 cycles. So the first exercise is called wall slides. The purpose of the wall slide is to promote really good shoulder blade mechanics, because as you raise your arms, your shoulder blade should also elevate to allow enough space for your arm to get all the way up. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to come up to the wall. Your feet are going to be hip width apart. Your feet are going to be about 1 foot away from the wall. You're going to bring your arms up and just gently rest your hands on the wall. And what you're going to do now is you're going to slide your hands up, but as you slide, you're going to act like you're pushing your elbows straight into the wall, keeping a good pressure through your hands, all the way up and then all the way down. In addition, as you get to the top, you're going to lift your shoulders up a little bit and then come back down again. Also make sure that as you raise your arms up, that your head does not tilt forward or tilt back with your hands. Try to keep your eyes directly pointed straight towards the wall. Now for all of my exercises, I'll typically do between 8 and 12 repetitions, and again in a cyclical form. The next exercise is called the reverse T. You're also going to be on the wall. So what you're going to do, again, you're going to have your feet hip width apart, about 1 foot away from the wall. You're going to place your back against the wall like so. Bend your hips and knees a little bit, sink into it. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw your belly button toward your spine and flatten your low back against the wall. And this is really important because you're stabilizing that low spine, because when you elevate your arms, you don't want that extra movement in your low back, and that can lead to low back pain. So we're in this position, our backs are flat against the wall. You're going to bring your arms up like this, just the tips of your fingers just gently grazing the wall. Again, you're going to do a chin tuck and have your neck in a good position, and then you're going to slide your hands up like so, as far as you can go without your low back coming up from the wall and then coming back down. Now, if you're trying to go up and you get to a point and your low back comes out from the wall, don't go past that point. So stop before you get to that point where you feel like your low back's coming off, and then come back down. This next exercise I like to call toe taps. Now when you're climbing, of course, your legs are your other connection beyond your hands to the rock. You have to have good balance, good hip control, and good stability through your core and your leg. So this exercise acts to mimic that kind of motion. In addition, you have to have good technique. So we're going to almost do a single leg squat, but we're going to add in some very climbing specific movement. So what you're going to do, on one leg, you're going to bring your toe up, you're going to squat down on that one leg, and you're going to do a flag out to the side. So you're going to tap your toe out to the side and then come back up. You're going to go out like a back flag underneath you and come back up. And you're going to cycle through those. You can change it up by also going backwards or even diagonal, and doing them all on that one leg first. And then of course you'll switch legs. If you want to make it harder, you can add a weight onto your arm or an ankle weight onto your ankle. Or you can try not to tap your toe on the floor and try to keep that toe off the floor the whole time, which can get very, very challenging as well. And that's the toe tap. All right, this next stretch, we are stretching these small muscles on the insides of our palms. Now these muscles, they typically act to open and close the fingers like this, as well as bend our fingers and our knuckles this way. And typically when we're climbing, we are keeping all of our fingers right next to each other. We're never climbing like this. So oftentimes if you just rest your hand like so, you'll notice that your middle and your ring finger will just kind of pull together. And that's just because those muscles are really being overused. So to stretch these, what you're going to do is you're going to curl your knuckles this way, and you're going to use your opposite hand to press those knuckles into your leg. You should feel a really good stretch like this. However, if you don't really feel too good of a stretch, you can progress it to spreading those fingers apart and really trying to spread them as far as you can. Now this also stretches a specific ligament that's on the backs of your fingers. You'll really feel it, especially on the middle finger on the back of the knuckle here. Typically you'll get a little bit of stretch, but if you really want to stretch that specific ligament, you'll have to hold this stretch for very, very extended periods of time, like upwards of 8+ minutes, which is very uncomfortable. So if you have a lot of range of motion missing in that finger, you might want to do that. But if you still have adequate range of motion to do everyday things, then you probably don't need to. And for the last section of our spine, we're just going to do a little mobility, just kind of getting some movement into that spine. We'll be making sure that we hit flexion, extension, and rotation, which are the main movements of the spine that we'll do when we're climbing. The first one, you're going to be on hands and knees. And this one, we're just going to make sure that we get some good flexion and extension. So you're going to drop your spine and get some nice curve, pushing your tummy down. Just make sure that it's not painful or uncomfortable. And then you're going to push your spine up to get a nice curve towards the ceiling. You don't really have to hold each one for any particular amount of time. We're just introducing mobility into that spine so that it's available when we're climbing. So oftentimes if we are trying to get a high foot or to do a high step, we'll often get a lot of spine flexion like this, and that will really help with our hip flexion to get our foot up on that really high step. And then maybe this extension, if we're looking out from the wall, to kind of preview the remainder of the route as well. And that's flexion extension. And the last one, we're just going to introduce some rotation into our spine. You're going to be laying on your back, knees bent up, and all you're doing is you're rotating your knees out to the side and just swaying side to side. Really focusing on getting that rotation through that low spine in a really comfortable range. If you feel your back crack, it's okay as long as it's not painful. That's just some air bubbles being released, typically, or a tendon just snapping over a bone. So that's normal, as long as it's not painful. And of course, you can do the same thing with your upper body as well. You can keep your legs where they are and rotate your arms towards each side. Just make sure to try not to let your knees sway side to side as you go. And that way you're isolating that lower spine and focusing on this upper portion of your spine. And that is spine mobility.